You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. This weekend, the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra closes out their 2021-2022 masterworks season with the final concert in the Absolute Classics series, conducted by WSO music director Daniel Reiskin. The concert features works by Dvorak and Tchaikovsky, as well as Canadian composer Jocelyn Morlock. The maestro has joined me this morning. Hello, Daniel.
Good morning, Simon.
Well, it's wonderful to have you back on the show. It's certainly been a while since we had you on the program, and so I'm so thankful that you've taken the time to chat this morning, especially after yesterday's Manitoba Remembers a COVID Elegy event. One acknowledging the loss that we've all felt in one way or another over the past 2 years, but you and your family have felt that loss very keenly not too long ago.
Yes, on top of the tragedy of 2 years of COVID pandemic and so much life lost and people really struggling with the aftermath of that, even so that the page on the real pandemic effects is not closed. The war that is raging in Ukraine, on top of it, has affected so many more. In Canada, where the Ukrainian community is very strong and very large, you're one of the representatives of that. And also my family, since I'm married to someone from Ukraine, was affected very, very harshly by that. And it's a brutal combination of war and COVID that recently has taken my wife's mother away from us. And conducting yesterday's concert was definitely very personal for me, and as much about the life lost in Manitoba and of Manitobans as it is personal tragedy for me. And so the concert that will take place on Saturday, our last concert of the classical concert of the season, is also a path towards, some way of spiritual healing and getting back to what unites us all and what's supposed to be better than anything else we can say or do. The incredible power and beauty of music.
Well, my heartfelt condolences. I mean, so many of us here in Manitoba were following that harrowing tale of your wife and mother-in-law escaping from Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine, and you met them at the border. And I'm just so saddened to hear that it had such an end. But like you say, hoping that the music can offer you a comfort, a musical healing, and well, of course, the community supports you in any which way we can. I'm happy to have you back here in Winnipeg. Let's talk more about this program, the last concert in the Masterworks season, and before we get to the music itself, what a season it has been. I'm sure that's putting it mildly, but not what was drawn up on paper at all.
Not at all. And also the concert we're playing tomorrow is not a program that was supposed to be played there. This was supposed to be a concert in preparation for our tour to the Netherlands in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the World War II ending and liberation of the Netherlands, which was already postponed. Well, now it's postponed again because, as you know, we're not the only orchestra that are canceling or have postponed our tours to Europe. The Boston Symphony has waited much longer than us, but they have made the same decision, and so are many others. So also the program we're playing on Saturday is not representing the original plans, and that's been the undertone of all our plans were, amended and changed and recomposed and whatever you call them. And as a matter of fact, as late as recent January, I've conducted a concert in Czech Republic with Lukas Vondracek being my soloist in Bartók Third Piano Concerto. And by that time, we made a decision that we're actually not going to the Netherlands. So our program had to be changed also end of April. And out of the blue, I just asked, is there a chance you're going to be in States or North America and, you can make it to Winnipeg and we could play something? And before I knew it, it's the answer was yes. And then I realized that the Voyageur Piano Concerto, which is a wonderful piece, but really rarely performed, would have Lukas as the best possible representative of this great music. Because I conducted last October at the closing concert of the Bratislava Festival, I conducted that piece with him. And we're going to play with WSO, we're going to play using the orchestral material of the Slovak Philharmonic that I took with me, just, to imbue it with a little bit more even material authenticity, if you want. And of course, then Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 4 was planned in our season on 2 or 3 other occasions. It's the same story as with the Beethoven 5, which kept migrating from program to program before we actually could play. So now we combined the piece that was actually planned to be played in Winnipeg sometime in 2004 with Andrei Boreyko, that at the helm of. So I'm talking about Voyageur, and the orchestra even purchased the orchestral material, but then the soloist fell ill in the last moment, and there was no way to replace him in Voyageur concerto. So now, 18 or so years later, WSO is finally going to play this piece, and I'm very much looking forward to that combination.
And what an opportunity to hear this Dvorak piano concerto played by a Czech pianist, like you said, Lukáš Vondráček, who just happened to be in North America, coming off performances with Chicago and Pittsburgh. Can you tell us a little bit more about why this work is rarely heard? Why you think that might be?
Well, you know, in Dvorak's own words, in the time that the piano concerto was all about exposing the pianist's virtuosity and in Liszt kind of style, where it would be really all about the soloist. Dvorak acknowledged himself that he, in a way, failed to do that, to write a concerto for a virtuoso, instead being a real symphonist. And in that, he is actually following the footsteps of Brahms, who himself written 2 piano concertos, and especially his first one, D minor, is also a piano symphony taking almost an hour. So what Dvorak did is actually, it's a symphony with a leading piano voice, where of course pianist is attracting most of attention, but the role of the orchestra is definitely equal, and very often the colors that the piano part offers us is supporting of the beautiful solos in the orchestra, and especially in the slow movement, that's evident. On the other hand, the reason the concerto is played rather rarely is that it is known to be notoriously difficult technically. At the same time, not, creating a platform for incredible kind of show-off opportunities for the soloist and a breathtaking result. And for many years, the concert was definitely in the shadow of his other more famous concertos, especially the cello concerto and the concerto. But nonetheless, the piece is such a wonderful wealth of incredible melodic material for which Dvorak was known and even envied by the same Brahms, So, and knowing how well Lukáš knows this piece and how beautifully he plays it and how authentically he's connected to that, I think it's one of a kind of opportunity for Winnipeggers and in Winnipeg to hear the piece by Antonín Dvorak, played probably by the best pianist you can probably wish for that now.
Yeah, we're fortunate to be having him here in the city to perform this music. Also on the program, like you say, Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, one that's been bumped a few times in the program. Just a monumental work. This is the so-called Fate Symphony, right?
Yes, and it stands also in a sort of bridge between the Fate Symphony we played by Beethoven No. 5 and this one, and it is the most personal of all kind of musical documents and narrative that Tchaikovsky left. Even so, following his exact program he outlined in a letter to his long years supporter, Nadezhda von Meck, it needs to be taken not literally. I think music is in that sense much more revealing than anything that can explain it. Nonetheless, the connection to this form and shape that from darkness to light that Beethoven so elaborately and vividly explored and used in his Fifth Symphony of Fate. And even the first motive horns are announcing at the beginning of the symphony with this repeated note before it goes a minor third down is nothing else but a nod to the same repeating 3 famous notes of Beethoven at the beginning of his Fifth Symphony, going a major third down. And if you think about the journey this motive makes throughout the symphony, the motive of fate, but then there is also a motive of longing, a motive of personal, just 2 notes, D flat and C, of which the whole symphony is growing. It's incredible how much Tchaikovsky, at the getting closer to the top of his creative powers, was able to achieve with these two seeds, writing such a powerful symphony, which indeed ends with a feeling of liberation and reaching for the light. But it's like later in Shostakovich, very often a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Whose upper hand is at the end? Is it the fate that is actually celebrating its win over a mortal, or a mortal that somehow manages to push, to delay the impact of fate through reaching for light and hope? And the idea of having some light and hope in our lives, especially now at this moment, I think it's very relevant. And I think this is quite a conscious choice for that program.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to bring up, was the fact that this is one that's been bumped a number of times, and yet here it is, as fate would happen, no pun intended, but it's made its way into the program at what feels like a very important time, and I'm certain that it's going to resonate in a very unique way with the audience. Sort of the fate, the hard realities of life that we're all experiencing these days. And one more work on the program, Manitoba's own, the Canadian composer, Juno Award-winning Jocelyn Morlock. My Name is Amanda Todd. A very powerful work this is, isn't it?
It's a very powerful work, and a very powerful and very tragic story that resonated around the world. And the phenomena of bullying is, probably every one of us in one form or another has experienced it, him or herself. Or being a father of two, I know what it can mean, and which kind of forms and shape can it take with your children, or even a workplace. Bullying growing into harassment, growing into all kind of ways and forms that should not be part of our society. So, and especially in the world that is so digitalized now, and where the exposure through the social media and online, through internet, from the youngest of ages, is so often uncontrolled, and so easily turns into something that is not observed and if needed, contained and punished. I think creating and drawing awareness to that is very important, because what seems to be what starts out as seemingly innocent, kids quarrel and little groups opposing one or groups opposing each other, can grow into a real mental trauma for people in their formative and then in their years and their later life, and then reach to tragic fatal results, as in case with Amanda Todd, who also exhibited lots of courage and resolve to actually draw attention to what was happening to her. And I think, again, this was the work that originally was intended to a program addressing all kind of social problems during our New Music Festival, that of course had suffered its fair bit of changes due to the COVID restrictions. So finding a rightful place for that piece of music in our program was also important for me, and I think it actually rhymes very well with Tchaikovsky on that program. So altogether, a powerful evening of great emotions and issues that need to still occupy us for moving forward wherever we want to go.
And that's exactly what music can do. It can comfort, but it can also challenge, and it can bring awareness. And that's exactly what's happening in this final program. What a way to end the 2021-2022 WSO Masterworks season. Maestro, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just want to add that during this concert, we're also going to make it known what plans we have for the 2022 season. So just to whet the appetite and the curiosity, if you haven't decided to attend the concert on Saturday, you might as well, not only for the great music that's going to be played there, but also for information about what kind of great pieces and works and artists we're going to present on our stage next season.
Yes, get the inside scoop. What an exciting announcement that will be happening tomorrow, Saturday, April 30th, 7:30 p.m. at the Centennial Concert Hall. For tickets, visit wso.ca or, of course, classic107.com.